Have you ever wanted someone to stay so badly that you started losing yourself trying to keep them? Maybe you replayed old conversations in your head. Maybe you kept checking your phone, hoping for a message. Maybe you gave chance after chance, even after being hurt. Maybe you kept chasing people who kept walking away. And the hardest part is this: you weren't chasing because you were weak. You were chasing because you cared. You loved deeply. You hoped deeply. You believed things would change. But lately, something inside you has started asking a painful question. What if I'm forcing something God is trying to remove? That question changes everything. Because sometimes the more you chase people, the more exhausted your soul becomes. Not because you are unworthy of love, but because some doors are not meant to stay open forever. And maybe this season of distance, silence, or separation is not punishment. Maybe it is protection. Maybe God has a plan bigger than the one you were trying so hard to hold together. If you're struggling to let go of someone, this message is for you. Because there are moments in life when God asks us to stop chasing what keeps running from us and start trusting where He is leading us. That's not easy, especially when memories are involved, especially when emotions are real, especially when you prayed for that relationship, friendship, or connection to work. But God sees what you cannot see. He hears conversations you never hear. He sees intentions you cannot see clearly. He knows where every path leads. And sometimes, His silence about a person is an answer. We often think love means holding on tighter, but sometimes wisdom means loosening your grip. Not every person who enters your life is meant to stay forever. Some people come to teach you. Some come to help you grow. Some come during lonely seasons, and some leave because their part in your story is over. That doesn't mean the connection was fake. It simply means the season changed. Ecclesiastes says there is a season for everything, a time to hold on and a time to let go. But letting go is difficult when your heart is attached. You start remembering the good moments. You focus on potential instead of reality. You convince yourself that if you just try harder, maybe things will return to how they used to be. But relationships are not meant to survive through one person carrying all the weight. You should not have to beg for basic care. You should not have to chase respect. You should not have to lose your peace trying to keep someone close. God never intended love to feel like constant anxiety. And sometimes when people leave your life, it is because God is making room. Room for peace, room for healing, room for growth, room for better connections. But before new things enter, old things often have to leave. That process hurts. There is grief in release. There is sadness in endings. There is pain in accepting that not everyone will walk with you forever. Even Jesus experienced this. People praised him one day and abandoned him the next. Some misunderstood him. Some betrayed him. Some walked away when things became difficult. Yet Jesus never chased people who chose to leave. He loved deeply, but he also let people make their choices. That is wisdom. You can love someone and still let them go. You can pray for someone and still stop chasing them. You can care deeply and still protect your peace. Because your worth is not determined by who stays. Sometimes we chase people because we are afraid of being alone. We think losing them means losing happiness. We think silence means failure. We think distance means we were not enough. But listen carefully. Someone walking away from you does not cancel your value. God does not measure your worth by human acceptance. The world may reject you, and God can still choose you. Joseph was rejected by his brothers, yet God still had a plan. David was overlooked by his own family, yet God still called him king. Hagar was abandoned in the wilderness, yet God still saw her. People leaving your life does not mean God left too. In fact, sometimes God becomes closest during those moments. Because when distractions disappear, you finally hear him clearly. And maybe that's what this season is really about. Not losing people, finding God again, finding peace again, finding yourself again. You see, chasing people can slowly drain your spirit. You overthink every message. You question your value. You become emotionally exhausted trying to hold on to something uncertain. And eventually, your soul becomes tired. God does not want you living in constant emotional confusion. The Bible says God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. That doesn't mean relationships are always easy, but there is a difference between natural difficulty and constant emotional chaos. One stretches you, the other destroys your peace. And peace matters. Sometimes God removes people because he knows they cannot go where he is taking you. Not everyone is meant for your next chapter. Some people only understand the old version of you, but God is growing you. Your mindset is changing, your priorities are changing, your spirit is changing, and growth often creates separation. Not because you became cold, but because you became aware. Aware of what drains you, aware of what harms you, aware of what no longer aligns with the life God is building inside you. There are people who only feel comfortable around the version of you that lacked boundaries. But once you start healing, things change. You stop begging, you stop forcing, you stop chasing. And that makes some people uncomfortable. But healing will always cost you old patterns. That's part of growth. Sometimes God allows distance because he knows attachment can become unhealthy. When someone becomes the center of your peace instead of God, your heart becomes fragile. You start depending on human consistency instead of divine stability. But people change, people fail, people leave. God does not. That's why he gently reminds us not to build our identity around temporary things, not because relationships are bad, but because no human being can carry the weight of being your entire source of peace. Only God can do that. And maybe right now, God is teaching you how to stand emotionally without chasing validation. That lesson is powerful because once you learn it, you stop running after people who cannot see your worth. You stop shrinking yourself to be accepted. You stop trying to convince others to stay. You simply trust that the right people will not need to be forced. What God sends into your life will bring peace, not endless confusion. And yes, there will still be hard days. You may still miss them sometimes. You may still wonder what could have been. You may still feel lonely at night. Healing is not instant. Letting go is not easy. But every day you stop chasing what God is removing, you create space for what he is preparing. That space matters because God cannot fill hands that refuse to release the past. Isaiah says, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. A new thing." Not the same pain repeated again. Not the same cycle again. Not the same heartbreak again. Something new. But to receive it, you must trust him enough to let go. And trust is difficult when you cannot see the full picture. You wonder, what if nobody else comes? What if I never feel that connection again? What if letting go is a mistake? But faith means believing God sees beyond what you can currently understand. It means trusting that closed doors can still lead to good places. It means understanding that endings are not always losses. Sometimes they are redirections. Sometimes they are rescue. Sometimes the relationship you cried over was the very thing delaying your healing. And years later, you finally understand why God did not let it continue. That clarity comes with time. But for now, maybe all God is asking you to do is this: stop chasing, stop forcing, stop exhausting yourself trying to hold together what only He can sustain. If it is meant for you, God knows how to bring it back in peace. And if it is not, no amount of chasing will make it healthy. That truth may hurt at first, but eventually, it brings freedom. Because your future was never supposed to depend on your ability to keep people from leaving. Your future rests in God's hands, and His plans are not fragile. So breathe. You do not need to panic. You do not need to beg for love. You do not need to chase people who keep choosing distance. God sees you, God understands your pain, and God has a plan that includes healing, a plan that includes peace, a plan that includes people who will not make you question your worth every day. This season is not here to destroy you. It is here to teach you that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is release what God is asking you to stop chasing. And one day you will look back and realize something beautiful. What left your life was not the end of your story, it was the beginning of your freedom.